Hello crafty friends, working in my scrappy art journal today. I have a lot of scraps left over from some recent projects. All the scraps are on my desk, so I want to use some of those in today's art journal. I don't have any idea yet what I'm going to do. I'm just going to pick out a few pieces that I really like and then just start from there. You don't always need a plan, just start somewhere and see where it takes you. If it doesn't work out, that's also okay. But you never know, you could always create a masterpiece. So I start by positioning a few of the pieces and I'm going to use Mod Podge to glue them all down. I press the first one down, then realize I actually like that background paper, so I want to keep it in the background. So I'm going to stick my first few pieces just underneath that. You could also use craft glue or even a glue stick to stick these collage pieces down. I just have Mod Podge handy and I enjoy using that. Always use whatever you have. Again, I don't really have a plan yet what I'm doing. I'm just sticking these down randomly where I think they look good. And I'm sticking more with the blues and turquoises and some with just text from a book. I also apply a layer of Mod Podge over the collage piece. This is because I'm going to add wet medium on top like paint. And then sometimes if you paint over it multiple times, the paper can deteriorate and start ripping. So I just protect that with Mod Podge, which does allow you to still paint over that. If you'd like to make a scrappy journal, like the one I'm working in, I do have a tutorial on how I made it. I will link that tutorial in the description box below. You can add as many or as few layers as you want. I also have this tissue paper that I've printed on. I've just used a stamp and some black permanent ink, and I'm going to put a couple of pieces of that over my collage. I'm now going to add some white gesso. The gesso I'm going to add on the edges of each collage piece. This will soften the edges and will make everything a little bit more cohesive. I don't want it to look like I've just stuck pieces of paper down. I want it to be more combined and to make it more blendy and make the background feel like one piece. But I don't just add it on the edges of each collage piece. I tend to go over some of the other areas too to soften the overall look. I often get asked, why do I bother putting down beautiful collage pieces if I'm just going to cover them up with paint? I have created an entire video to explain why I do that. I will link that in the description box below if you're interested to go and have a look. You'd be amazed what the difference it makes when you add collage into your projects. Once all the gesso is done, I'm going to dry everything really well. I'm then going to add the next layer. I'm using one of my favorite stencils. It's a number stencil. A lot of people ask me where I got it from. I actually just got it off AliExpress quite a few years ago, and it's turned out to be one of my favorites. So I'm using it today with some texture paste. I'm just spreading the texture paste over a certain part of the stencil in one area of the page using a palette knife. And then using the same stencil, I'm going to do some blending with my blending brush and some ink. Again, not over the entire area, just a small section. And then I did it again. I hit stop on my video, and then when I came back and had a look, I hadn't recorded how I added that color in the top left-hand corner. But don't worry, I'm going to show you because I'm going to add the same texture paste through the number stencil in the bottom corner of the right-hand page and show you exactly how I got that effect. I try to stop and start the video so I don't have big chunks when I'm trying to edit it. And sometimes when I hit record, it doesn't always press, and I've had this problem a few times. I need to be more careful. Once the texture paste is dry, I'm going to add a few drops of ink. I'm using a Distress Oxide ink. The color is called Mermaid Lagoon. I then spray some water with my little spray bottle and let the ink flow all over the page. I lift it up and tilt it back and forth and up and down and just let it go in between all the areas of the texture. Now, using my fine tip bottle with watered down black acrylic paint, I'm just going to do some scribbles in certain parts of the pages. This just adds a good contrast, I think, and I just love doing these scribbles. And now for my focal point, I have this beautiful printable from Digital Collage Club. It is a mermaid theme. I have used some of these in a previous project. I just love the colors. They're so vibrant and really fun. And I want to use one of these today as the focal point. I'll put a link to the Digital Collage Club in the description box below. There's also a really good discount if you use my link. It took me a little while to decide which one I was going to use. I did love them all. At first, I wanted to use the jellyfish, but then I thought there was a little bit too much pink, which didn't really go with my background that I'd created, so I ended up using the castle, which was more of the neutral tones with the blue. I believe this suited it the best. I love that it has a gold frame around, which really finishes off the image really well. I'm not going to add too much to this. I'm going to add a piece of cheesecloth just behind the image. This is just to slightly lighten the background to allow the focal point picture to pop. I want to lighten some of the areas a little bit more. So using my gesso again, I'm going to go into certain parts and apply that again. I do like some areas of pure white sometimes. I believe that creates a good contrast. I use the word contrast quite a bit. And I like the smoky or misty feel that it leaves. Now, because I've used oxide ink and the acrylic paint, it has sort of blended into the wet gesso a little bit, so it's not stark white, which is perfectly fine. I'll put the first layer down, I will dry that all, and if needed, I can go over it again with some more gesso to make it more white. But that is a personal choice. You could leave the color blend if you prefer. You can see it has smudged the scribbles a little bit and made a bit of a grey tone, which I don't like for this project. So I'm just going over with a small paintbrush and very lightly going over it to lighten the whole thing and clear up that greyness. I'm using a paintbrush here as opposed to my finger, which I prefer to normally use because I can make it a bit of a lighter application. With my finger, I tend to be a little bit more harder, but with a paintbrush, I can make it really, really light and cover less surface area at a time so it doesn't smudge the background colors. If you're not new around here, you'll know that I use a lot of gold leaf. I do love it. I think it adds a beautiful touch to the project. So of course I'm going to add some to this one. I think it is beautiful with the blues. And of course it matches the gold trim on the frame of the printable. I apply the gold leaf with just some glue stick. I find that the easiest, and then just press it down with my finger. Again, not applying it everywhere, just underneath the frame, peeping a little bit underneath, and then some on the right hand page for balance. To tell you a little bit about Digital Collage Club, it works on a subscription basis, and you have access to thousands and thousands of printables, from full journal kits to ephemera to beautiful focal points like the one I'm using today, across so many different themes, and new digitals are uploaded every week. And then I'm going to stick everything down. I'm using my clear craft glue for the cheesecloth. You don't need a lot, just a few little drops just here and there. I don't mind if it's a little bit loose and the edges are free. I love the phrase showing. And then I'm going to stick down my focal point. And then I'm going to add a really small sentiment on the right hand side. I'm going to do it in black to match the scribbles that I've made on the left hand side. And I'm not putting it in the center. I'm putting it way off center, just at the top. I think that page otherwise speaks for itself. Using a black watercolor pencil, I'm just dipping the point in some water and then just going around the sentiment. This is just to enhance it slightly, and then I use a small paintbrush with a little bit of water on it just to smooth out the black from the watercolor pencil. I think it gives it a nice feel. I really hope you enjoyed this art journal page that I created from scraps, and I hope you were inspired to get stuck into your scraps and try something too. Let me bring this closer to the camera so you can see all the detail, all the textures and all the colors. I'm really happy the way this turned out. I hope you like it too. Thank you so much for taking the time to watch my video. I would love if you subscribed, and while you're subscribing, hit the little bell so you're notified every time I upload new content. Thanks again for watching. Don't forget to subscribe. Happy creating, and I'll see you again soon. Bye.